shelter is to build for man and society. A roof over the head has preoccupied man from ancient times till the present. Buildings and the skill for their construction have advanced from caves, thatched and moored to high-rise structures by engineers. These advances in the skills and structures have also brought challenges which make modern buildings to betray the safety and comfort which buildings should provide. The walls of many modern houses crumble, killing those inside instead of giving them safety. Comfort is sacrificed. From October 1974 to May 2025, Nigeria has recorded 653 incidents of building collapse, claiming 1,616 lives. Lagos State alone carries the heaviest burden, accounting for over 55% of these disasters. One city bearing more than half of a nation's pain. This is not fate, this is failure. In November 2021, Lagos was shaken when a 21-story luxury high-rise in Ikoyi collapsed, killing 45 people. In 2014, the Synagogue Church of All Nations guest house fell, taking 116 lives, including international visitors. And these are only the widely reported cases. According to the Building Collapse Prevention Guild, Nigeria sees dozens of collapses every single year. In 2022, there were 62 nationwide, with 20 in Lagos. In 2023, the country recorded 52 collapses, 17 of them in Lagos. In 2024, 47 cases spread across 14 states, and again, Lagos topped the list with 13 incidents. That means, on average, Nigeria suffers a building collapse every 7 to 9 days. Behind each statistic are real people. Children doing homework, market women resting after a long day, families are asleep, caught in seconds of chaos. But why do these buildings keep falling? Experts trace the causes to 4 major factors. 1. 40% linked to substandard materials. 2. 25% from poor workmanship and unqualified builders. 3. 20% from lack of proper supervision. 4. The rest are natural causes like flooding, soil failures, or heavy storms. In Lagos, over 1,000 buildings have already been marked as unsafe, yet many are still occupied because families cannot afford alternatives in a housing market where rents keep climbing. So walls with cracks remain lived in, ceilings that leak remain slept under, and danger becomes normal. Behind every collapse is not only a faulty wall but a faulty system. Nigeria introduced its National Building Code in 2006, but enforcement remains weak. Out of hundreds of investigated cases, only a handful reach prosecution. The numbers tell the story. Over 650 collapses in 50 years, but less than 10% have led to real accountability. Developers cut corners, investors look away, and citizens pay the price. The results? From Lagos to Kano, from Abuja to Port Harcourt, buildings rise tall on paper but fall short in reality. It does not have to remain this way. Other nations have shown that collapse can be prevented. In Rwanda, stricter enforcement of building codes have drastically reduced structural failures. In India, after reforms in 2013, collapse fatalities dropped by nearly 40% within 5 years. Here in Nigeria, the Building Collapse Prevention Guild is training artisans and advocating for safer construction. Young architects are experimenting with compressed earth blocks and locally sourced materials, building affordable houses that can withstand the test of time. If scaled up, this initiative could save hundreds of lives every year and restore confidence in the safety of our homes. When a building collapses, it is not only cement and steel that fall, it is human lives, human dreams, and human futures. The numbers are stark. 653 collapses in 50 years. 1,616 deaths recorded. Dozens of cases every year. Lagos carrying more than half of the nation's toll. The numbers speak, but we will listen until we build with honesty, enforce with courage, and value human life above profit. The dust of fallen walls will continue to rise, marking not just broken buildings but broken promises.
Great structure begins with a foundation, and so does every conversation on this show. Welcome to Counting the Numbers on Signature TV, your weekly dive into the stories, people, and trends in our economy. I am Tomsinime Natus. Across Nigeria, many hardworking citizens dream of building their own homes. But with the rising cost of cement, iron rods, and labor, some cut corners, hoping to save money. Unfortunately, that shortcut can come at a devastating cost. Building collapse, loss of life, and wasted investment. So, what's the real cost of cheap construction? And is it possible to build safely even on a tight budget? Joining us shortly is architect Chukwudi Ifedinezi, who will help us understand the importance of building smart. But first, let's take it to the streets to hear what Nigerians have to say about building costs and cutting corners.
This is at the end of the day, but the building will not use to last. So the best thing, why not do the right thing at the right time and save yourself the stress and save the community at large, even the people that will be inside.
At least it's not fair for a building to collapse. Because we pay for at least everybody to respond to this matter because they're not using the right material. Imagine human life will be inside the building and going to collapse because of sharp practice. This is corruption. And so corner is not good.
Clearly, Nigerians are concerned. Everyone is trying to stretch their naira, but at what risk? Let's take the conversation deeper into the numbers and decisions behind it all. Joining us now is architect Chukwudi Ifedinezi, a professional at Great Touch Constructions with an experience in a wide range of residential and commercial projects. Chukwudi is passionate about promoting safe and sustainable construction in Nigeria, and together we'll dissect the topic building smart, the true cost of cheap construction in Nigeria, and he'll tell us why it's essential to plan carefully and build smartly. Welcome to the program, Architect Chukwudi.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's so great to have you.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's begin at the root of the problem. Why do so many Nigerians think it's okay to cut costs when building a house?
Well, for an average Nigerian would always want to say is a know-it-all, you know. And another main issue that we usually have is a lot of Nigerians would like to tell you, oh, my brother is a builder, my brother is an engineer, my brother is this, you know, that without actually consulting a professional who is going to walk he or she through the process of building a house, because there's a lot of things that comes to play when you're building a house, very, very importantly. You know?
Okay, so you speak of a professional, like what kind of professional?
Now, for anybody that wants to build a house, regardless of how big or small it is, first of all has to consult an architect. Okay. And now the job of the architect is to lay out the plans, you know, and work very closely with the clients to know exactly what he or she wants, to make sure that, you know, what we plan is what we build. And then from there you can go to, after the plans, you now talk about the quantity surveyor. The job of the quantity surveyor is to cost it. Okay. You know, looking at all the plans and putting a number to it to make sure that we don't stop halfway or have less surprises.
Things to go smoothly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Because we don't want surprises.
So we've seen heartbreaking deadlines of buildings collapsing in cities like Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt. In your own experience, what are the most causes of these tragedies?
There are a number of them, to be fair. One of it, for starters, is poor planning.
Poor planning.
Yeah, poor planning, not consulting professionals. People that want to cut corners by using quacks, and and then materials also. Some people go trying to cut costs and then use substandard materials.
Yeah.
And not checking soil tests.
Yeah.
Before you start building, no matter, you have to do it, what we call do a test to know the bearing capacity of the soil, to make sure that whatever you're trying to build is going to carry it. So like I said, there's a number of reasons to it, but the most important thing is not having a professional. It's very important to have a professional on ground to not just design but supervise, because sometimes some people get the professionals, pay them, and then they don't involve them when they want to go to site. Okay. So that supervision is very, very, very important. It can't be overemphasized.
Okay, thank you. So what role do architects play in this process? Because many people believe that it's quite expensive to bring in an architect in buildings or commercials, building houses. So is that true, or is it a myth?
It's a very big myth, because not bringing in professionals, or in this case architects, you run the risk of spending so much more than that you're supposed to spend, because not planning is like planning to fail, which is a common phrase that everybody knows. So it's really, really important, regardless of whether you're building a very big house or a small house, or regardless of the project. The planning it's everything. It's very important. It cannot be overstated.
But are architects expensive?
No, they're not expensive if you don't use them. I don't know how to put it. Like, not using them is more expensive than using them. Yes, yes, because you're going to. If you start without an architect, you're going to be changing and changing and changing. And then when you're changing and changing and changing, you already built the structure, so you have to break down and then change. And so all of these things that you're doing now is going to cost you so much more than doing it without an architect, you understand? So you just have to design it. You just have to put it on paper and see what it looks like. Do it 3D if you don't understand plans. You do it 3D and see what it's going to look like in real life before going to sites. It's really, really important.
Another thing is, some people have this my dream house kind of idea, and sometimes they don't quite match it with their budget. How do architects actually come in to help people with budgets like that, to make them realize that what you're picturing and what you have at hand, maybe the finances you have, might not be a good match?
Well, if you have a dream to build a very big house that you cannot afford, the job of the architect is to advise you.
Okay.
Using experience and, like I said, working closely with quantity surveyor to cost it and spell it all out, because cutting corners always backfires. It's not a maybe, it's definitely going to backfire, because you're going to spend more, or in the end it might even collapse, which we don't want none of that. So the job of the architect is to walk you through it, and if your money is not going to get you that exact dream house, you can work around it using design to do something that looks like it, but then something that will not break your bank account.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah. So if somebody has about 10 to 15 million naira, can they build a safe 3-bedroom house without cutting corners?
There are a few factors that come to play. Location is one of them. It depends on where you want to build it. And then the short answer is actually no.
10 to 15 million cannot build
a standard 3-bedroom.
Currently in Nigeria?
Yes, that's the short answer.
Okay.
Because you're going to have to work roofing, for instance. Now, it's an average 3-bedroom. To roof an average 3-bedroom, the regular type of roof that we use in Nigeria it's going to cost you about 3.5 to 4 million just to roof the house.
Currently.
And then you've not talked about doors. Now I'm talking about finishings. I've not talked about the blocks and the foundation and the rest. I'm just talking about things that you can easily just check in the market, like doors, the price of doors and tiles, and then you also boils back to taste too. You understand the taste. What kind of door would you like to have? What kind of tiles would you like to have? What type of roof would you like to have? You know, if you don't want to do a heat roof, which is what is more common, you can do is a flat roof, which is cheaper, but then it all comes down to taste. For the most part, it's just taste.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are the absolute non-negotiables when building on a tight project?
Planning.
Okay.
You just have to plan properly. If you have a tight project, you have to plan properly, walk through all the steps, work closely with your quantity surveyor. After you must have done the design, like I said, you can't do without the architect. You simply can't. Work with your quantity surveyor to make sure all the T's are crossed and all the I's are dotted. You understand? So.
Okay. So planning is like the number one non-negotiable thing that you have to do.
Proper
You're working
planning.
on a tight budget.
Proper planning.
So that planning helps you
understand what you want to embark on clearly. Spells it out. That planning includes going to site and looking at the soil to make sure it's going to carry whatever you want to build. That also covers the costing. It also covers just planning for the most part. And who does the planning is the architect. So working with professional, you just have to work with a professional to make sure that all goes to plan.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So what final advice do you have for first-time builders watching this who would want to avoid costly mistakes?
I'll strongly advise you work with an architect. I know I might sound like a broken record, but it all comes down to planning in the end. To avoid mistakes, because a lot of things can happen on the site. Sometimes you do a good design, and then you plan well, but then the people that people that work on the site mess it up. So, and you understand. So there's a lot goes into building a house. Supervision is another very, very, very important thing. Seeing it through, making sure that what you put on paper is what is replicated on the site. So working very closely. I would advise anybody that wants to build to work very closely with his or an architect and make sure that you visit the site to make sure that what you're paying for is what you're seeing. Because like I said, workmanship is something that you just have to work very closely. Make sure you go there every day if you have to, to make sure that all goes to plan.
Thank you very, very much, Architect Chukwudi, for joining us. It has been a very delightful moment with you.
Thank you.
And I'm sure all the intending builders out there must have picked a thing or two from what you've said.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, appreciate it.
A huge thank you to Architect Chukwudi Ifedinezi for those powerful insights. Indeed, saving money should never cost you your life or your home. Building smart means planning ahead, using the right professionals, and not compromising on structural integrity. Now, let's take a quick look at some building realities in Nigeria. Now, we ask you, would you rather spend wisely today or pay dearly tomorrow? The numbers speak for themselves, and so do the stories. Connect with us across social media at Signature TV and use the hashtag Counting the Numbers to join the conversation. Until next time, I'm Tomsinime Natus, and this has been Counting the Numbers.
New every morning on Signature TV, we open the day for you with needed energy, information, and required vibes to shape your day. From sizzling snippets of stories in various areas of life to intriguing conversations with net worth guests.
When you have people who have no track record becoming your leaders, you have a problem.
There's no outstanding graduate when Obi took over from me. I left in all the accounts of Anambra State 13.8 billion for him.
Your day cannot be complete without Signature Morning on weekdays and Signature New Day on weekends. There is no better way to start your day except Signature Morning and Signature New Day every day on Signature TV.
Numbers may look cold on paper, but here they come alive. Welcome to Counting the Numbers on Signature TV, your weekly dive into the stories, people, and trends in our economy. I am Tomsinime Natus. Standing on top of the numbers today is the real estate business. Real estate is one of the most talked about businesses in Nigeria, but it can sometimes feel like it's only for the wealthy or the big players. Yet many experts say anyone can start small if they understand the building blocks of the business. Today we break it down. What really is the real estate business? How can Nigerians take part in it, not just as tenants or buyers, but as investors and business owners? Joining us shortly is Blaize Itodo, a real estate and communication strategist who will help us understand the ABC of real estate and how small steps can grow into bigger opportunities. But first, let's head to the streets to hear what Nigerians think about starting in the real estate.
It's like once. And I think one of the reasons is Nigeria has a growing population, so the more population is increasing, there is demand for housing. So I think that was, and now we live in a country where the government doesn't really have like a housing plan for the people. So I think it's one of the reasons why the private sector is kind of coming in to harness the opportunities in that industry. Not really for the big players. I think the little thing I know about real estate, there are different stages that people can actually start. You understand? The real estate developer that actually started very small, started from helping people to sell their properties, and that's how he was able to raise his capital, you understand. Then later on he started looking for partners. So I don't think what really needs big capital to actually start? No. Why? Because when I see the condition of Nigeria and even the condition of Abuja entirely, so then I don't even think of that at all because of the way the country. Because I thought that the thing will go along as is going for a good money that I cannot afford. I'm interested because it's a good business. You can make a people make a progress all the time. Especially now, even into the real estate. No. The people that don't even have the capacity. Anybody who has the capacity, have a fashion, and you want to make a progress, you can start a real estate business even though with small money. Like our estate, we can't pay money at once. We can pay the money usually, that is small, so small payment. But you cannot pay it once. But if you have the ability to pay once, you can pay it. But if you don't have the ability to pay once, you can pay it gradually.
The views are diverse. Some Nigerians believe real estate is strictly a big money venture, while others insist there are small entry points that can make a difference. Let's take the conversation deeper with our guests. Joining us now is Blaize Itodo, a seasoned real estate and communications strategist who will help us understand how the business side of real estate works in Nigeria. Welcome to the program, Blaize. It's so great to have you here.
Thank you very much. It's nice to be here.
Let's start simple. When people hear real estate, they often think houses and land. But what does real estate really mean as a business?
Well, like you said, real estate is about land and properties. But again, in the business of it, you look at it like a spectrum.
Okay.
Yeah, a spectrum that includes investment, that includes buying. Basically, real estate is about turning land into value, bringing out the value in an empty space. So it involves a whole lot. It cuts across a whole lot of spectrum. Yeah, you have construction, you have buying and selling, you have joint partnership. So it's a whole lot in one. So it's not just about land and houses. It's about a business like you have every other business. It's one business that involves everything that you have in every other business. But unlike other business, it is one that involves integrity, one that involves telling the truth and standing by what you do.
Interesting. Many Nigerians see real estate as capital intensive. Is it truly possible to start small? And if yes, how so?
True to that, yes, real estate is capital intensive. Okay. But again, yes, you can start small. Yeah, so if you can't buy for now, you can be an agent. You can be a realtor. So you start selling for people, and with time you build up yourself to a point where you can start investing. And even before then, knowledge is very important in real estate. So if you can't buy now, you can have the time to learn what real estate entails. That's the business of it, how to come in, what you need to do, what you need to know before you become an investor. You can, as an agent, you can also have an opportunity where in the business you can make money and start on your own. Okay. Or you can move out of the city center if you don't have enough money. There are places where you can actually get property for as cheap as $1 million, 2 or 3. So it mustn't necessarily be in the Metamas, in the Wuses, in the Katampes and all of that. You can actually start somewhere and gradually you build up over time. That is what is called land banking in real estate. Okay. It's a process where you go to a place that is not yet developed. You can get land at a very cheap rate, and over the years, you can grow to a point where that value now appreciates to a point where you can now start selling on your own. So basically, real estate is not a quick money making scheme. If there's one thing you need to know and have at the back of your mind in real estate, is you need to be patient enough to hold on and watch your investment grow.
Okay. What are the building blocks, the key things anyone entering this business must understand first? Because some people just rush into it without even knowing the basics. So what are they?
Yeah, one of the building blocks of real estate is, first of all, knowledge. Yeah, you need to have the knowledge of the business itself. You see, many people are actually carried away by the money part. You know, if you think real estate, just say, man, this is an opportunity to make money. Yes, it's an opportunity to make money. But first off, you need to learn what is involved. You need to seek that knowledge. You need to look for ways to understand how it operates. Secondly, you need to do due diligence. And that involves you asking the right questions, doing the right thing. Like if you want to acquire a property, first off, you need to do your due diligence in checking if the property is legit. How do you do that? If it's in Abuja, you go to Najis. And there's a procedure for that where you go and verify if the land in question is actually up for sale or is actually on ground. Because we've had cases where people buy land and you go there and it was just a concocted paper that people put together and sell to other people in the name of real estate. So you need to actually do your due diligence, and you need to learn to work with people that are professionals in the field. So if you want to go into real estate, you need a lawyer to guide you. Okay. You know, so you know the terms and conditions of the some of the contracts that you'll be going into. Because it's one thing for you to have the money, I want to buy things and something. It's another thing to have like a binding document that will guide you in going into it. Another thing is location. You need to understand how location works. There are places where you would have the same size of land but with a higher value. Take for instance, in our Guzape property, we're selling the 5-bedroom terrace in Guzape, and we have the same design, almost the same design in Life Camp, but the prices differ. Why? Because Guzape is of a higher value than Life Camp. So you need to understand that as well. As an investor, if you invest in a place, you should invest in a place where the value on your property is guaranteed to increase over time. So your due diligence, like I said earlier, would actually help you from losing your investment. It's just like you not having security and walk into a volatile area. So your due diligence is actually your security in going into it. And like I said earlier, you need to be patient. You need to have all of the patience in the world, because oftentimes it might not come when you're expecting. You know, there are many people, people just see people in real estate and they just rush feel, you know, they started yesterday and they are here today. Some people, it took them years to get to where they are today. You didn't know when they were agents. Some people were just selling stones in different sites, and from there they ended up buying like a 1 hectare and they started selling, and from there they moved up to 2 hectares, and from there they now own property all around town. It's not magic, it's a process, and you need to be patient for that process to come to pass.
Thank you for actually sharing that with us. How important is documentation? You already mentioned due diligence, so just explain a bit further the documentation and due diligence in avoiding fraud or property disputes.
Okay, so let me put it this way. It is very important. It is overly important. Like you cannot just. It is one part of the business that you just can't take for granted. Because what happens is, let's take for instance, you have a land, and I say, okay, Tomsinime is my friend, and she said, I have a land somewhere in Mitama, and let me just go and buy after all. She's my friend, I trust her and all of that. And tomorrow it turns out that the land doesn't belong to you. If I don't do due diligence, if I don't check, you know, if the land is actually legit and available on ground, and that transaction goes on, if we go to the courts, you might end up winning me, even though you've actually deceived me and took my money. Because I mean, there were no proper due diligence done in doing that business. So most times people just do it for the sake of okay, I know this person, so let me just go ahead and do it. But oftentimes it doesn't turn out well. So that's why due diligence is very, very important. If you must buy a land, depending on where the land is, if it's in Abuja, like I said earlier, you go to Najis and do your due diligence. There's a procedure for that where you can come, you give them the documents of the said land, and they will help you verify who the real owner is. You know, and other things that you need to do is to, even if anybody comes up with a land for sale, you need to ask if that person have the authority to sell. Okay. Take for instance, some people would well, you always say next of kin does not have joy, and oftentimes it's true. Some people will just go and steal their father's document or probably a family land, and maybe the document is with them. Because the document is with them, they can fraudulently get somebody and sell it to the person, but that's wrong. You know, they need to have that permission to sell. You know, you need to actually confirm if that person offering you that property actually has the permission to sell. Because if that person doesn't have the permission to sell, like I said earlier, you end up losing your money, because if you sell to that person and the person ends up running away with your money, the real owner of the land can come back and claim back his land, because he never in any way offer that land for sale. So you, the investor, you, the buyer in this case, would have to confirm if that person actually has an authority to sell. So that's part of the due diligence you need to do as well. So once you have this understanding, it helps, it guides your investment, it protects your investment. So you are sure that the investment you are going into won't be a loss, because you've actually, you know, done your due diligence to ensure that your investment is safe.
Okay, so beyond buying and selling land, what other opportunities exist in the real estate value chain? The real estate value chain is a whole lot of spectrum. Yeah, there's a whole lot that's involved. Even if you're not buying land or selling land, there's a whole lot you can do. You can go into property management. Okay. Yeah, so you can set up a structure where you help people, because there are some people that have properties but they don't have the time to manage it. So you can set up a structure, a business that helps people manage their business. You can go into Airbnb. Yeah, so if you have a property, you don't want to rent it, but you want to do business, you can go into Airbnb, where you have apartments, you know, for short lets for people to rent over time. You can make money from that. You can go into construction. So you can be you can set up a construction company, so you provide construction services for real estate developers. You can be a developer yourself. You mustn't own land, but you're a developer. So you can go into joint ventures with people that own land. You have the money, they have the land. So you come together and you do the business together, and everybody benefits. You bring the money, they bring the land, and you have a sharing formula for that. You can go into block industry. Wow. Yeah, it's still in the value chain. You can supply cement, you can supply stones, you can supply sand. You know, you can be an agent where you just help people find properties around town. So it's a broad spectrum. It's a whole lot. So these are just few I'm listing. There are even much more. Like if you come into the business, there's much more, without you actually bringing out your money to say you're buying a land to build and start the business. You can come in between. There are so many businesses in between that you can do and make profit. So you're starting to say that real estate has like a wide range of opportunities for people if they actually tap into it.
Yes, a very, very wide range of opportunities for people. Yes.
Okay. Finally, what practical advice would you give young Nigerians or small investors who want to start today but feel discouraged?
Okay, one, I would say start from where you are. That means, what do you have to go into real estate business? And oftentimes, it's not just money. Yes, I know it's a myth in real estate that real estate is all about money, big money.
Exactly.
But the truth is, yes, it's about big money, but beyond the big money, there are other things that you would need, you know, to go into the business. Like I said earlier, you need the knowledge, which is very, very key, very, very important. So even if you have the money, you need the knowledge. So first off, you need the knowledge. So once you gain the knowledge, then you can find ways to go.
How can that knowledge be acquired?
Yeah, by seeking the knowledge, by reading, by studying, by going to school, by there's so many ways, by getting a mentor, to guide you, to bring you in and help you. I actually got here through a mentor. It wasn't magic. Somebody actually held my hand and brought me in. So it wasn't like I'm very good at this and I woke up one day and I have all of this knowledge about real estate. No, in as much as I went out to seek knowledge, somebody actually helped me on the one-on-one to guide me to say, do this, don't do this, go here, don't go here. Okay. And all of that. So you need somebody that has done it over the years to actually guide you, and help you to grow in it. And like I said earlier, really people feel because they have money they can just go ahead and do anything. Due diligence is very important. Do your due diligence all the time. Do your research, do your sites, search, know the value of your search, even know to some extent the person you are going into the real estate business with, because people have track records. So you can actually research on somebody to know if that person is legit. You can do all of that. Oftentimes we just say, I know this guy and he was introduced to me by XYZ, but you don't know any other thing beyond that. And that might be dangerous because in as much as it's a thriving business and all, there are still crooks in the business. It's a very dicey environment that if you're not careful you can lose everything. So it's that important. Secondly, you need to be honest. Integrity matters in real estate. Okay. People don't see that. They just feel like it's business now. It's business. Just find your way out and just tell the client what he needs to hear or what she needs to hear. But importantly, your word should be your bound if you really want to excel in real estate, because people need to understand and know you for who you are. Like if you say A, you should mean A, not you say A and you're doing B. For instance, there are many people that are selling lands that probably are not theirs. There are many people that are selling land that they've not finished paying, maybe from the person they bought from. They are still owing the original owner, and they are selling, they are not paying. So there's so many things. Some people are collecting money and the land is not on ground. So that's a whole lot of a part of dishonesty that people are still doing right in the business. Some people are defrauding people by telling them lies, about properties. Maybe the property is not, they don't have the mandate for the property, but they can just go all out and just lie to the person and, just to make sure the person parts with his or her money. And finally, and most importantly, real estate is a business that has to do with time. And in that time, you need to be patient enough. It's not Yahoo. If you at times if you like, you can get rich like the way people get rich in these schemes and all of that. But again, you can trace your riches in real estate if you're truthful. Okay. Unlike other ones. You can just have a deal that can fetch you like 500 million in real estate, even $1 billion, even probably more. It's that possible. I'm not saying it's not very, very possible, but I'm saying it is not magic. If you check it, it's probably a product of due diligence, probably a product of consistency, which is one of integrity, which is one of the things I talked about earlier, So all of that actually helps, So if you're patient enough and you're diligent enough, real estate is the place for you. And finally, they said the right time to plant a tree is yesterday, but the next best time is today, now. So if you want to go into real estate and you missed the last opportunity, today is the next opportunity for you.
So thank you so much, Blaize, for breaking it down for us.
My pleasure.
With all the things you've mentioned, due diligence, starting in bits, being patient, I'm sure that many Nigerian youth out there and even other business minds would benefit from this if they keep these things in consideration. So thank you once again.
Thank you for having me.
That was Blaize Itodo shedding light on the real estate business. The key takeaway, you really don't have to start big. You can start small and make the most out of it. Now, let's take a quick look on some real estate business realities in Nigeria. So what's your take? Do you believe real estate is only for the big players, or do you see small steps as the way in? Share your thoughts with us on our social media handle at Signature TV with the hashtag Counting the Numbers. Until next time, I am Tomsinime Natus, and this has been Counting the Numbers.